In this video, we're going to be talking about adjacent angles about a point. The word adjacent means next to. This term has the same meaning outside of geometry. For instance, your neighbor's house is adjacent to yours. So when we're talking about adjacent angles, they're angles that are next to one another. And to give it a little bit more of a technical definition, they are angles that share a common vertex. Looking at this diagram here, remember the vertex is the corner point of an angle, or really that end point of each of the rays that form an angle. So if I take a look here, this is the vertex in the picture, and I have three angles that share that vertex. So those are adjacent angles. The relationship is adjacent angles about a point add up to 360 degrees. And a quick tip to help us remember that is to draw a circle around them. This works because we know that a circle has 360 degrees. So that's our reminder that our sum is 360. So let's take a look at some problems utilizing this new angle relationship. If I take a look at number 1, I see that there are 4 adjacent angles about a point, 4 angles that share a common vertex. So I could draw my circle around them and remind myself, okay, these angles add up to 360 degrees. Okay. So I could do a couple of things. I could write an equation. I could say 101 plus 84 plus 31 plus x equals 360. And I can combine like terms and solve. Or I could go to my calculator and start subtracting things from 360. So 360 minus 101, minus 31, minus 84, and I get my angle measurement of 144 degrees as my answer for x. Let's take a look at number 2. First off, I'm going to remind myself that these little squares indicate 90 degrees. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with 360 and start subtracting angles. Subtracting 70, 90, 43, and the other 90. And that gives me a value of x of 67 degrees. Okay. Let's take a look at some more sample questions. On number 3, once again, everything adds up to 360 degrees. I can draw my circle there as a reminder if I would like to. And I'm going to start using my calculator to subtract. So 360 minus 103 minus 52 minus 122. And x comes out to be 83 degrees. Now remember, if you don't have a calculator, that's not a disadvantage. We could certainly add up 103, 52, and 122. We could do it in our head or off to the side. Okay, when I add those up, I'm going to get 277. And then subtract that sum from 360, and you'll get your same answer. So no worries if you do not have a calculator. Moving on to number 4. Once again, everything adds up to 360 degrees. And x comes out to be 64 degrees. All right, moving on to number 5. When we take a look at this one, it might initially look like we do not have these adjacent angles about a point or this sum of 360. But we can still consider it one of these questions because this top angle up here, that's a straight angle, so that angle has 180 degrees. And if I want to continue that circle around, now I can see that sum of 360. So I'm going to do 360 minus 180 minus 67, and x comes out to be 113 degrees. Over on number 6, solving for x, y, and z. I actually could find the answer to this problem in a few different ways. If you know about supplementary angles and linear pairs, or if you know about vertical angles, you might know that x is going to have a measure of 44 degrees. Y is going to have a measure of 136 degrees using the vertical angles, and z is going to be 44. Now, if we wanted to, we could also check this using our new facts and say, okay, does 44 plus 136 plus 44 plus 136 give us a sum of 360? And surely it does. All right, let's take a look at 2 more problems together. For number 7, these markings mean that these little curves I'm referring to, that we have congruent angles. So one is given to us as 70, but that's going to tell me over here that this is 70 as well. Utilizing this fact, I could once again, now I don't know up top, I don't have the angle measures up top. I do know that this one over here is 70 because of the potential vertical angles, but other than that, I do know here that the bottom of this picture adds up to 180. The top of this picture adds up to 180, so I know everything up here is 180. And I can use that to help me find x. So I have a few different ways I could do that. I could utilize that 180 up top. I could not use it and just use the 180 degrees on the bottom. Either way, x is going to come out to 40 degrees. All right, lastly, we're going to take a look at one that requires us to do some algebra. So a common error that I see on this problem, if you look at it here, we have a lot of adjacent angles all about a point. And I think by now everyone says, okay, 360 degrees is the sum. But what I see a lot of students do is 4x minus 10 plus 5x plus 12 plus 2x plus 2 and add them up to 360. The problem with doing that is we are neglecting to include these other 3 angles that are blank. So we have to somehow take into account what those angle measures are. So in order to do that, I'm going to utilize knowledge of vertical angles. Those are angles that are congruent and are formed by intersecting lines. So I know, for instance, that this is over here 2x plus 2. This down here, 5x plus 12. And over here, 4x minus 10. So I see in this picture now that all 6 angles are filled in, and I have 2 2x plus 2s, and I have 2 4x minus 10s, and I have 2 5x plus 12s. So to take that into account, I'm going to adjust my equation a little bit, and I'm going to say, well, there's 2 4x minus 10s. There's 2 5x plus 12s, and there's 2 2x plus 2s. Rather than do this with the distributive property, what you could do instead is you could have chosen to do 2x plus 2 plus 2x plus 2 plus 4x minus 10 plus 4x minus 10 plus 5x plus 12, 5x plus 12, add up to 360, and really just show that you're adding up all 6 angles. Or you could just add up the 3 initial ones to 180. All of that would work. I'm going to stick with this method using the distributive property. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 8x, 10x, and 4x gives me 22x. Negative 20, 24, and 4 gives me 8. And that equals 360. Let's work to get x by itself. I'm going to subtract the 8 to the other side. That's going to give me 22x equals 352. Divide by 22. And we get x is 16. If we want to check, we can go back to our picture, plug 16 in for each of the angles, make sure that all 6 angles add up to 360 degrees. Hopefully this video helps you better understand adjacent angles about a point.